It started as a quiet life. My house sat at the end of a gravel road, separated from the main neighborhood by a small wooden bridge I'd built myself. The creek beneath it wasn't deep, but strong enough to wash away small things in a storm. That bridge was my pride, a handmade arch of cedar and steel that led to my peaceful 2 acres. The problem began when the HOA decided to extend their authority. I wasn't part of their neighborhood, technically. My property was outside their jurisdiction, but that didn't stop them from trying. Especially her. Karen. Karen was the president of the Willow Creek HOA, always armed with a clipboard, sunglasses, and a permanent scowl. She'd been pestering me for months about unauthorized structures, violations, and community standards. I ignored her until one morning I woke up to the sound of diesel engines. 3 cement trucks were parked on the other side of my bridge. I watched from my porch as Karen stood there, directing the drivers like she owned the place. She claimed the trucks needed to cut through to pour concrete for a new sidewalk project. My bridge groaned as the first truck rolled forward. I shouted, "Stop! That bridge isn't rated for heavy vehicles." She turned, smirking. "Then you should have built it stronger." The bridge creaked under the weight and snapped. The first truck dropped halfway into the creek, its wheels spinning uselessly in the mud. Cement poured into the water like thick gray blood. Karen screamed at the driver, but it was too late. My bridge was gone. I called the county sheriff. He said it was a civil matter. The HOA denied responsibility. Karen laughed in my face. That night, as the sound of crickets filled the dark woods, I stared at the broken bridge and whispered to myself, "You picked the wrong person to mess with." I didn't plan revenge right away. At first, I just wanted justice. I filed complaints, contacted lawyers, even called the local news. No one cared. Karen had friends in all the right places. The HOA painted me as a recluse with anger issues. My case went nowhere. Then, one afternoon, I saw her SUV parked across the creek again. She was inspecting the wreckage, taking photos, probably to blame me for polluting the water with cement. That's when the idea formed. I'd rebuild the bridge. But not just any bridge, a trap disguised as one. I sketched out blueprints. The new bridge would look solid, fresh planks, clean rails, but underneath, I'd hide a reinforced hydraulic system. When triggered, it would collapse in a controlled way, enough to trap a vehicle, but not harm anyone. Just a little reminder that property lines matter. For weeks, I worked in secret. At night, I installed pressure plates and sensors. I disguised everything beneath layers of treated wood. My hands ached, but I felt alive again. The sound of hammering was therapy. Karen's posts on the HOA Facebook group grew bolder. Some people think they can live outside community rules. Not for long. I smiled when I read it. The new bridge stood proud again, beautiful and sturdy. All I needed now was for her to drive over it. The following week, I baited her. I posted a simple message on the local forum, "Bridge rebuilt. Stronger than ever." Within hours, Karen commented, "Let's see how long this one lasts." 2 days later, I heard engines again. This time, it wasn't cement trucks, it was Karen's SUV and a landscaping truck. She'd brought workers to inspect the creek area again, supposedly for drainage violations. I stood on my porch, pretending to fix a mailbox, watching through my sunglasses. The moment she started across the bridge, my heart pounded. The tires rolled right over the hidden pressure plates, but nothing happened. Not yet. She parked on my side and yelled, "You can't just block access to community property." I replied calmly, "This is my property. That bridge is mine." Karen laughed. "We'll see what the board thinks." She turned back toward her SUV, shouting orders to the workers. I discreetly pressed a small remote in my pocket. With a groan of metal and a deep crack, the bridge's center sagged. Karen froze, eyes wide. Her SUV tilted, the front wheels dropping into a shallow gap. Mud splashed up her windshield. She screamed as the workers ran for safety. No one was hurt, but her pride was crushed. I ran down, feigning concern. "Oh no, you should have been more careful." Her face turned red with fury. "You did this on purpose." I shrugged. "You shouldn't have trespassed." But that was just the beginning. Karen wasn't done yet, and neither was I. The morning after the bridge incident, I woke up to chaos. Someone had stapled bright orange violation notices all over my mailbox, my fence, even my front door. Each one listed ridiculous claims: unauthorized construction, environmental damage, hostile behavior toward HOA personnel. At the bottom of every page was Karen's signature, her handwriting sharp and smug. Later that day, I found a county inspector waiting at the end of my driveway. He claimed he'd received anonymous reports that I'd built an unsafe structure over public land. I handed him my property deed and showed him the coordinates. After half an hour of quiet muttering, he sighed and said, "Legally, you're in the clear. But these HOA people can make life miserable if they want." Exactly what I feared. By that weekend, Karen escalated again. A new post appeared on the community Facebook group. Some residents are endangering others with unstable structures. The board will take action. That night, I saw flashlight beams moving near the bridge. Two men, HOA board members, were inspecting it without permission. I grabbed my camera and recorded everything from a porch. When I yelled, "Trespassing," they ran off like guilty kids. The next day, I uploaded the footage to YouTube under the title, "HOA breaks into my property at night. Caught on camera." Within 24 hours, it had 10,000 views. Comments poured in, hundreds of people supporting me, calling out Karen's bullying. I hadn't planned on becoming an internet hero, but the attention worked in my favor. The HOA started facing backlash. That same evening, Karen appeared at the end of my driveway, arms crossed. "You think the internet can save you?" she said. "No," I replied, "but it sure makes you famous." She turned red and stomped away. I knew she'd try something worse next. Karen wasn't the kind to back down. She was the kind to double down. So I prepared. 3 nights later, my cameras caught movement again. This time, around 2 a.m., someone was sneaking near the bridge with a flashlight. The footage was grainy, but I recognized the posture immediately. Karen. She wasn't alone. 2 men followed her, one carrying a crowbar. I watched them from my security monitor, heart pounding. They weren't inspecting this time, they were sabotaging. One man started prying at the bolts, the other cutting through support cables. They wanted to make it look like I had built something unsafe. I quietly slipped on my boots and grabbed my phone. As I crept down the back path, I dialed the sheriff's non-emergency line and whispered, "They're here again, trespassing." The dispatcher said a deputy was on the way. I watched from shadows as Karen gave orders, "Just weaken it enough so it collapses when he drives over. We'll call it a safety hazard." My stomach twisted. She wasn't just petty, she was dangerous. Then came the sound of tires crunching gravel. The sheriff's SUV. Blue lights flashed through the trees. Karen froze mid-command, turning like a deer caught in headlights. Deputy Harris stepped out, shining his flashlight right on her. "Ma'am, what are you doing out here at 2 a.m.? Karen stammered, We were just checking community safety inspection." He looked at me across the creek. "Is this your property, sir?" "Yes, and I've got everything on camera." The deputy confiscated their tools and escorted them off. Before she left, Karen hissed, "You're making a big mistake. You'll regret this." She was wrong. She was the one who'd regret it. Because by then, I'd already built the second trap. The first trap had been simple, a mechanical collapse. The second was psychological. I rebuilt the bridge again, stronger, more beautiful, and with a subtle twist, warning signs. Private property. Trespassers will be recorded and reported. Bridge under structural monitoring. Do not cross. But here's the trick. I installed motion-activated projectors underneath. When someone stepped onto the bridge at night, a glowing red warning appeared on the planks. Big bold letters that read, "Trespass detected. Police notified." The first time it activated, even I jumped. It looked real, almost supernatural. Within a few days, word spread through the neighborhood. No one dared come near my property. Except, of course, Karen. She returned one cloudy evening, marching toward the bridge with her phone out, filming herself. "See? No one owns land without HOA oversight. We're taking this bridge down for good." As she stepped onto the first plank, the red words flared beneath her boots. She screamed, stumbled backward, and dropped her phone into the mud. The recording went viral that same night, Someone from a nearby house had captured everything. The comments online roasted her. Karen meets the ghost bridge. Maybe respect private property next time. Her credibility crumbled. The HOA board quietly removed her as president pending investigation. But something told me she wasn't done yet. And I was right. A month later, I received an envelope in the mail, no return address. Inside was a single flash drive labeled, HOA accounts confidential. Curiosity got the better of me. When I opened it, my jaw dropped. It was a folder of documents, emails, invoices, even photos, proving the HOA had been misusing funds. Thousands of dollars labeled as maintenance fees were being transferred into personal accounts. And at the top of nearly every transaction, Karen's name. This wasn't just petty harassment anymore. It was fraud. I sent copies of the files to local news outlets and the county auditor. 2 days later, the story exploded. Willow Creek HOA under criminal investigation, read the headlines. Reporters surrounded her house. Karen vanished for a week. Then came the final twist. I learned who sent the file. It was one of her own board members, the same man I'd seen during the break-in. He messaged me anonymously. She turned on everyone. We wanted her gone. You just made it happen. The investigation tore the HOA apart. Fines, resignations, lawsuits, everything collapsed. But I couldn't shake one feeling. Why did that board member have my address? Why did he want me involved? Something darker was hiding beneath the surface. 2 months later, I was finally at peace, or so I thought. The HOA had dissolved. Karen was awaiting trial, and my bridge stood untouched. Then, one foggy morning, I noticed footprints leading across the planks. Not new, fresh. I checked the security footage. Around 3 a.m., a single figure walked onto the bridge carrying a gas can. Karen. She'd escaped house arrest. She knelt near the middle of the bridge, poured gasoline, and struck a match. That's when the bridge's final feature activated, the one I'd never told anyone about. A motion sensor triggered a set of high-pressure sprinklers fed directly from the creek. Water blasted upward, soaking her completely and dousing the fire. She screamed, slipping in the mud, before the sheriff's SUV lights appeared again. They'd been tracking her GPS monitor. The deputies dragged her away, dripping wet and furious. As they drove off, one deputy laughed. Guess your bridge really was smarter than her. Months later, I replaced the wooden planks with steel beams, permanent and unbreakable. I added a small plaque to the side that read, "For those who cross boundaries they don't own." The video of the final incident hit 12 million views. People called it the most satisfying HOA revenge ever. But for me, it wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about peace and knowing that sometimes the best traps aren't meant to hurt. They're meant to teach. And Karen? Let's just say she'll never cross another bridge again.